We are live.
This is Literary Roadhouse. One short story, once a week. I'm Andy.
I'm Gerald.
And I'm Anise. Okay, let's do this. I'm ready. I told Gerald before we started recording that I'm going to fight him on today's show. So let's see if I deliver.
Get ready. Well, this
can
week...
we be peaceful? Can we be a bit peaceful, guys? Can we just...
We can try,
live and let
but
live?
as long as you agree with all of her ideas.
Exactly.
Well, the both of you are all fired up today. You're spoiling for a fight, the two of you.
Andy already had a fight today, okay?
Yeah, I know. You're going to be chasing me down the road.
Of my fight.
I know you're not proud of your fight, but I am.
Yeah.
The short story to not get into politics is basically, in these pandemic times, no place is more tense than a grocery store. And Andy and a fellow citizen got tense over proper pandemic protocols. All right, let's go to the story.
There's rules. There's rules. We live in a society.
Yeah.
Also, just a heads up for all our listeners, my cat is really eyeballing my operation here. So, you might hear a cat soon.
Awesome.
Okay.
This week we read Out There by Kate Folk. This was a story, huh?
Why do you say it like that as if you didn't like it?
No, I liked it, but okay. Part of it is just like the reason I think I hated the Chernobyl story was because we're living in a pandemic, and so I don't need this right now. I'm in a new relationship with a significant romantic partner.
New-ish.
This is newish.
Yeah.
It's been we did the math because I discussed this specifically. It's been like 8 months.
Yeah, that's significant. Continue.
Right, Sam and I can't remember the first person narrator's name. What's her name?
Did they ever say her name?
I don't know. It's first person mostly, but I think they say her name at some point. I don't know.
Sam.
She's this nice lady. Is single for a long time, then decides to get on a dating app again. Meets Sam, who they were together for 3 months, I think.
Yeah. See, that's new.
Right. Newer. But so the big deal in this world, it takes place, the story's set in next Tuesday AD. And there are these things called blots. Which end up being artificial humans who were originally created for care homes, and so they're very empathetic and uplifting and just nice to be around. They make you feel good, right? That's their purpose. And then for their original purpose, they didn't get used, so they got co-opted by Russian hackers, and now they're identity theft tools on dating sites, among other things. So it's this whole range of artificial, super handsome, super uplifting and encouraging and attentive men who find vulnerable women, hack their identities, and ruin their lives, and then disappear in a puff of nice smelling vapor.
Yes.
At least it smelled nice.
Yeah.
Right. So
with a bad taste and a good smell.
Mm-hmm.
So the narrator meets a guy on the dating app, and his name's Sam. And it does this really interesting thing with Sam, right? Where she starts dating him, and also blots continue to evolve, right? So the newest generations have some flaws introduced. It's even harder to tell them apart. They're not just strictly cookie cutter perfect mans. So she starts picking up little things about Sam while also being very cautious about her personal data. And so oh, look, he's kind of a little bit selfish. Oh, he didn't ask me a follow-up question about myself. All these little things that at first make her feel like she's safe with him. Oh, he's a normal, flawed human, right? And eventually they go on a trip, and it gets to the point where it's the same flaws. The same flaws that made him safe to start dating become exacerbated and annoying and not a good partner for her. And one of her friends at one point had the best line that really summed it up.
Yeah, Yeah, it was like, so maybe he's not a blot, but he is a dick.
Right. He might just be kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Which he is. And also, like, not what's important, I think, about Sam, not like a bad dick, not like an abusive partner, not a bad person.
Just the most benign kind of dick.
Right. Not the right person for this woman to be dating.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has to deal with that, right? Like she found a real person with flaws, but then the flip side is now you're in a relationship with a real person who has flaws. And I don't think she actually left him at the end. She
did.
Well, she walked away from him.
No, she did, because then she sends a text in reply where he goes, great weekend, heart. And she's like, oh. And then she's like, I sent him a text that I might end up regretting, which was the breakup text. She broke up with him over text is how I read it.
She didn't reply to his text immediately, but she had an idea what she would write.
Well, I thought she ended up sending it.
Yeah. And not that I saw, right? So like she sort of decided to break up with him, but I think hasn't actually broken up with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the very end, sits down to hang out with a bunch of blots because they're super nice and uplifting and encouraging.
I have another read on that ending as well, but let's get into it.
Go for it.
Yeah, but let's get there. Hearing you summarize the story made me fall in love with it all over again. Why is it so perfect and good? I love it.
It's really good.
It's so good. Look, Gerald disagrees. Gerald, why do you not like the story? I'm going to fight you. Oh my God.
Why are you so aggressive today?
Because this story is great. I'm giving it a 6.
Can't you? Spoiler alert. Can't we just disagree nicely and admire each other's opinions and
2020, no.
Okay.
The 2019 attitude, Gerald.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get anything from it. There were some nice pieces in it. There were some nice sections. It was an interesting idea to have blots and to be sort of avoiding the blots and then getting somebody who's okay but not not that nice, and then thinking I'll go back to the blots. I don't know, there was something about it that I just didn't. I read it and then I read it again and I thought, I'm not going to remember this.
Wow, I'm never going to forget it. I told my wife we're reading this afterwards after I'm done recording. It's that good.
No.
Yeah,
no,
it's
fine. We're just going to fight forever.
Crazy.
Well, okay. Let's get to the ending first, and then we can go to all the little pieces that I loved. So that whole thing where she ends up going back to the blots, right? So in my reading of it, there is a metaphor here between her choices between blots and non-blots, and choices that women face in dating in a non-blot world society. Andy, it looks like you know what this metaphor is. Would you like to explain it?
No, I would not.
Oh, you don't? You look like you were nodding your head.
No. I'm just excited to hear you talk, Anise. I don't know a lot about women's dating.
Oh, okay. All right. So one of the things, the story, the blots are great. We'll get to that in a second. But aside from telling you about the blots in an artful way, she also tells you a lot about this woman's backstory, how long she's been single, her father who walked out on her, and her mother who had a drug addiction, all these things, her own struggles with alcoholism. So you get a very clear picture of who this woman is. And the choice that she said, she sets out a choice in the beginning, right? Where she's like, it's either between, risking being with a blot or being alone, right? That's what she says in the beginning. But by the end of it, what you realize is there's a parallel here where there's a lot of women in our current society, friends I've spoken to, who are sometimes nervous about dating a man who they think is too good to be true because they fear of that abandonment, right? She's always afraid to text first. She's always afraid to seem too needy or to ever make any of her own demands, right? So she fears it's just going to end in pain, that if a guy looks too good to be true, he is. In this society, if a guy looks too good to be true, he's literally going to steal your identity and money, right? So there's like this risk. Like if you go for someone who seems too good to be true, he probably is. So settle for the dick. You should settle for the dick who is safe and is never going to like leave you and is right. So that's what she does with Sam, but that doesn't work out either. And what I like there is at the end, when she goes with the blot, there's that moment of like, what if they're not blots? What if they're not too good to be true? Because what she sees at the spa is she sees this woman who she's like, oh, this 30-something-year-old woman with a soft body, which I didn't take to mean fat, just like someone who doesn't work out, who's like average looking with this super handsome, chiseled, muscular guy. That guy got to be a blot. And she's like waiting over the whole long weekend for this guy to like vaporize, but he doesn't. So he's probably not a blot. So she sees this and she's getting like resentful about it. And at the end, she just decides, you know what? Forget it. I'm not going to live in fear of this anymore. I'm going to go ahead, which is the same thing that even in our non-blot society, you need to get over that fear that if a guy looks too good to be true, he's going to abandon you or somehow ruin your life, and just go for it, right? As cautiously as possible. Don't go to Big Sur with him after 3 weeks. I think that's a good rule in our current society and in this society, right? But I think that's the parallel, and I love it. So good.
But you talk about the backstory and you talk excitedly about, you know, the father was a drunk, and I just thought, what a cliche! The father's a drunk and disappears, and then they don't hear from him, and it's best to move on without him. Yeah. It's you know, so what? It's.
But it isn't about the
do
father.
Something different,
right? I think if that was going to be the driving engine of the story, then it's not enough to have a cliche. But as now we know this woman's archetype, right? And it was it was there to fill out her archetype so that we knew who we were dealing with. Mm-hmm. And the dating is what drives the story.
Right. It's just shorthand for who is this person. Here you go. Click, 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 click. Now you know. Right. In fact, I think using that shorthand is really effective when that's not the focus of the story and you're writing a short story, you have a very limited amount of space. Like just like here's it's like a dog whistle. Here's something everyone knows what this means. Here you go.
Yeah, we talked about this, gosh, in one of the other shows a while back, but it was right when you have this much space in short story, and one of us made the point, probably one of the more brilliant ones. Are
you referring to yourself, Andy?
Who knows? Who knows who it was? Right, you have limited space in the short story, so the parts that aren't your focus, fill in with cliches if you need to give us this shorthand fuller picture. The part that is your focus, make really interesting.
Right, which she did with the blots.
Right. Also, you mentioned it in your brief summary, but like, what a cool way to introduce the blots, right? She mentions the word blot a couple times, like, okay, it looks like our world, but here's something weird. We don't know what it is yet. And then finally, like, fill us in neatly, but we've already been accustomed to the fact that
it was so artfully done. I know. It's like just off enough that if you're introducing a sci-fi element, but there's not so much, it's not so different from the world we live in. You don't need to sit there giving us paragraphs upon paragraphs of exposition. She just weaves it in there in a way that feels like, yes, I have known about blots my entire life. Go on. The way that it's introduced is just so quick, so clean. Like, I know a couple years ago now, we read a short story where, like, I love the writing and I could tell that the author was really talented, but I hated the info dump because she was so ambitious in this world building that she completely changed the world that these it was like automatons lived in, that if she had just put the automatons in the world that we live in, she might have gotten the same story without spending so much time trying to like build something imaginative. You know what I mean? Like it like didn't add to anything. It just sort of was like painting a picture for the sake of painting a picture, which is fine and good and fun. But it just, after a while it was a lot. Here that didn't happen at all. And actually one of the things I loved about it is when she introduces Roger at the dinner party, who's like, refilling her wine glass and asking about her life and super attentive. And she didn't know about blots yet. And she was like testing, she was like doing the Turing test unwittingly. One of the things I loved about it was the fact that his fakeness felt a little bit like the curated social media presentations that people have. It felt like the way that people are like over Instagram, especially where things are hyper curated, which is why when she got to the line of blots always wanted to go to Big Sur, I like honk laughed because it was just like such like a stereotype of like the Western Instagram influencer fake curated personality that these blots are so clearly based on. I just laugh so hard. Big Sur,
Right.
let's go.
And like his biography that he gave verbally was like exactly like a little Tinder bio, right?
Yep. Yeah, it just felt so curated in a way that it's like that uncanny valley, but we live in it. We see these blots, which is the curated social media versions of people.
Right. They're just now also walking around with physical forms.
Right. Exactly. Now they are. I loved it. Yeah. Gerald, have we swayed you at all?
Not a bit. I find it strange that you're both so excited about it and both so positive about it. And don't get me wrong, it's not a bad story. I'm not gonna trounce on it. I'm not. It's an entertaining story. I enjoyed reading it. It was well written, but it's one of these things where you think, oh, you didn't like the story. No, I liked the story. I just didn't like it as much as obviously you two did. Which so I'm not going to be Mr. Grumpy Man in the corner here and say oh, it's rubbish. I don't like it. It was an entertaining story, and I'm not going to give it a 6, but I'm not going to give it a 2 or a 1 or anything. But I don't know. There's some sort of disconnect. Maybe I don't know if it was.
I wonder if I don't think we often run into generational differences on the show, but I wonder if this might be one because Andy and I are more clued into the curated social media sort of think. Like we're a little more naturally wired to be thinking this way. And Gerald, you're very much on Twitter, but you're in writer Twitter, doing very specific writer Twitter things and a little bit of like UK political Twitter, right? Like, which is a little different than like the curated, let's go to Big Sur and get this picture with a perfect filter with the ocean in the background. You know what I mean? Like it's a very different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's part of it, like seeing this and just like, oh my God, this is the best.
I think when you were talking about curated images and curated personalities on social media, I was thinking, I sort of think I might know what you mean, but then I understand what you mean, but I've not seen it. I've not been part of it. So perhaps it sort of loses that sort of bit of humor, that bit of engagement and it could be generational. It could also be like, I don't know what Big Sur is or where Big Sur is. So there's a bit of a country thing going on as well.
But you guys probably have it too. Like, do you like? I wonder if the youth of the UK like go to Devon for their Instagram pictures or something. I don't know. No, where would they go?
What sort of beautiful like beach cities do you have there?
Do they all go to the White Cliffs of Dover or something for like the background?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we have. I think
it's impossible. It's literally impossible.
Just think of your country's geography and tell me where like the tropical zone is.
What is the picturesque? I know. Now I want to find it. I want to find what is the cliche British version of like going on a like long weekend to get the perfect Instagram photos that everyone does. It's impossible that it doesn't exist. It has to.
Yeah.
It's just the world we live in now.
I don't know. I think we may tend to, in different times, I think we may tended to have gone to Europe. There are places in Europe, in France or in Spain, in the Canary Islands, perhaps.
Oh, yes. It's Spain. No, it's Ibiza. Ibiza is a big one on social media. I see it everywhere.
Yes.
That might be it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah, there you go.
There's that, and yeah. And I think also there's when we do the big festivals,
for sure.
like where's that big one? Oh my God, Glastonbury. That I think that's a thing to go to and to be seen at, and I can see that here I am, at the pyramid stage at Glastonbury and things like that. Yeah, but no, we're just chilled. We're just laid back. We don't.
No,
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 probably not. It's
no.
it's
I
my
get glimpses
generation.
at British social media, and it's not that different. There's a lot more Greg sausage memes, but that's about it. It's like very similar. But so I think that was one of the things that made it so fun for me. And again, it might be generational, is seeing, oh, I recognize this fake, curated, bubbly, bright social media self now in physical form.
Right.
Oh, the horrors, you know. Yeah. And I also like how she would put in little tiny, insightful, moral things in there that we just know to be true. So, for example, the tech moral, where the noble intention the thing was designed with is not ultimately how it's used, how it gets appropriated by somebody looking for either money or political power, right? Like,
Right.
yes, the noble intention is out the window almost instantly.
Yeah, and it didn't make money, and it was sold to a Russian company. So yeah, I can see that. And also, there's nice at times, there was like I've highlighted a bit here when she said Peter and I didn't really hang out beyond the meetings we attended in church basements for people who no longer drank. So just nice little, yeah, I like that. I like this. Sam handled my body thoughtfully, like a new pair of shoes he would break in and wear often. So yeah, there's some nice bits in there, but yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. There you go.
Andy, you were nodding your head when I said that there was all these other little insightful commentary on society. Was there another one that stood out to you?
Oh gosh, I didn't write down my notes this time.
I will prompt you. Why are the blots all male?
They thought that they'd be less likely to be taken advantage of sexually.
I love that. I was like, wow, that is accurate and true. Just little eggs like that, where it was like, yeah, the blots are all male because it's more authoritative and probably people won't try to sexually exploit them as much, maybe. Let's find out.
Right.
Yeah. Which is fun also because typically in sci-fi, whether it's, shows or whatever, typically when there's like a new AI, it's almost always female, right? And sex.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right, because we also know that story though, right? And this is very clear, it's not that story.
No, not that story.
Yeah, it's not
this
that
is
story.
A bunch of sexy men, which I love. Normally it's sexy women. Here we have sexy men who are going around seducing women and being like, let me take you to Big Sur.
And also not just sexy, but emotionally supportive and available. And yeah.
Yeah. Men that seem too good to be true because they are hilarious.
What does the vapor smell like?
I love
Lavender?
that. Lavender.
Yeah.
I love that too, because again, going with my metaphor, the parallel here between women who are afraid to date men who seem too good to be true, so settle for something shittier and safer. This idea that once they disappear, they'll leave in a puff of smoke and you're just left behind with a nice lavender scent was hilarious. Just great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then she sees someone who seems to be in a relationship with a guy who seems too good to be true. And she's like, oh, okay, I'm going to take the risks. Maybe these guys playing cards in the park who are talking about Big Sur are legitimate good guys who like Big Sur. I don't know. Let's find out. Maybe they're real people. Yeah. And just all the stuff where she's at dinner and the way that she's proving to her friends that Sam is not a blot is by emphasizing all the ways he sucks. And they're like, okay, I guess, Just
yeah, he does seem like an actual human. You wanted to date him?
I'd be better off with the plot. What? Yeah, which is also funny because, in certain friends groups, it's interesting that she talks to men here. But when you're talking to other women about a new guy that you're dating, normally that's not what you're doing. You're normally not highlighting the flaws. But sometimes, if a guy sounds a little too good to be true, other women in the group will be like, "Hold on, wait." Which actually did happen to one of my friends. He was too good to be true. Yeah, but turned out to just be all lies and a monster. But now she's with a good guy who is genuine. So, both exist.
Hey.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. And while I'm going on random commentaries, having been to sauna focused resorts, 3 nights is too long. Just saying.
I like that was her first thought after she got to the sun.
It's a real thing.
Maybe this is too long.
Yeah. You very quickly
something
else.
Yeah, that's something that I maybe we have. I don't know, but I just have to accept it because it's not something I'm aware of or know anything about. So, a sauna resort. So you go to a resort and it's just saunas.
It's described perfectly. The gravelly paths to the different pool, the cedar wood, steam rooms, and saunas above the pools. The pools are different temperatures. The largest pool is the coolest one, still warm, but not super hot. The area where you eat looks like the inside of a train. All of this is extremely accurate and, well observed. And yes, 3 nights is too long, even if you don't hate the person you're with. Yeah. Perfect. I loved it. The more we talk about it, the more I'm like, I want to read everything by her now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was real good. And it hit me in the place.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm so excited. It got me. Also, you know how yes, Gerald, really.
Or did I say that out loud?
Yeah. You know how last week I said I appreciated that the thesis was the first paragraph of the 0 meter diving team, and I love that. I also love when you kind of bury what it is a little bit, but it's not too buried, right? So I feel smart for figuring it out because you didn't beat me over the head with it, but you also didn't put it all the way into the Earth's goddamn core. It's, I just have to dig a little bit with like a child's shovel.
Also, what I like that she did in the story, they introduced the idea of these new generation blots, right? So all the while things were going on with Sam, and once she started accepting him more and more and trusting him, that felt like the thing where the tension's just automatically getting ratcheted up without having to do a lot of work. And you're like, oh no, she does like him. They're making smoothies together. And then, but then the payoff was not that he was secretly a blot, right? The payoff was specifically the opposite thing. Like, oh, he's just shitty. That's still bad, and it still is the thing, but yeah, I liked it.
I agree with what you're saying, because if he had turned, because at all times you're thinking, oh, he could be a blot, a newer model who has flaws. If she had made him a blot, it falls apart. The fact that he was human, that was the best and only choice. Yeah. Yep. And then at the end, basically, she's like, all right, taking my chances with these perfect guys who may or may not be blots. It's a little concerning. They're talking about Big Sur. However, I will try. I like how she, like the first time she sleeps over or Sam sleeps over at her house, she has her laptop on the other side of her on a bookshelf so that if he goes to reach for her, he has to reach over her and wake her up. She's got the pillow under her phone. Like, it's funny. I love it. Like, yeah. I hope K-Folk listens to this, that she knows I'm a fan.
I like the bit. There was some bits of humor in there, like when Alicia had been blotted and said, "I woke up and he was gone." Alicia said, "The room smelled great, though." just laughing.
That's nice.
So yeah, so there you go. It's not all bad.
Also, that Alicia story too. Again, with my friend who wound up with a guy, in hindsight, we were like, yeah, all the signs were there, the too good to be true stuff, and you missed them. And the same thing happened with Alicia with the blot, right? Or it's like, yeah, but like he asked you to go to Big Sur in 3 weeks and that wasn't a red flag. We do that with guys who end up turning out to be terrible, right? Sometimes, you support your friend, but in the back of your head, you're like, yeah, but like, didn't you notice this? It's the same thing. Like the parallel was so perfect, including in the way that women talk to each other about these things. I don't even want to say what was the big red flag my friend missed, because even though I'm not mentioning her name, it's so embarrassing. It's like in hindsight, everything is clear, I'm going to say it because in case there's another woman out there who has this. Every time they were together, he would put his phone in airplane mode to conserve battery. Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh dear.
Yeah, which is one of those things where, like, in the moment, you really like a guy, you're like, okay, sure, I guess. And then in hindsight, you're like, that motherfucker. I can't believe it. He had like 1 billion affairs and side pieces. This is why he had it on airplane mode.
Side pieces.
1 billion of them.
I like that.
Yeah. All right. Anything else we want to say?
Just that we all agree what a great story this is.
We're all giving it 6s. I agree.
I think it's unanimous.
Yep.
Go on. Go on.
We'll put Gerald in the middle of the ratings. Andy, what
We'll
are you
see.
giving this story?
I am giving this story a 6.
Wow. What about you, Gerald?
I'm giving this a respectable 4.
That's a very nice score. That's not a bad
nice
score.
score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for people who are new to the show, we've been getting new subscribers. This pandemic's been great for our listenership. We score from 1 to 6, which really has become 1 to 5 with 6 for just knockouts. Just like, wow. So normally
other stories other than this one.
Yeah. And why 1 to 6? Because that's just what we did. Because.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like turning the volume up to 11, isn't it? It was 1 to 5, and then we thought, no, we want a 6 for the special ones.
Okay, and just remember that time Rami wanted to give a story a 1 because technically it had words. Okay, and I'm also giving it a 6. So game time. Andy prepared a wonderful game for us.
Yes, I did. But what are we reading?
Yes.
Or what are we submitting? We don't know what we're reading.
Well, I'm going to submit again 2 Little Soldiers by Guy de Maupassant.
Ooh, fun. We've read him, I think, once before on the show. And I'm submitting Disaster Stamps of Pluto by Louise Erdrich.
Ooh, Disaster Stamps of Pluto.
I went in just for the title. I was scanning all her stories, and I was like, this is a fun title.
I'm good at that title.
Mm-hmm.
So we have just like a little quiz. I was going to do a little work, but then, grocery shopping. It's going to take it real easy here, folks. We're going to do a true false
fighting.
True false quiz about dating.
Oh.
Okay.
Ooh. Hang on.
Yeah.
Go on.
You're familiar with it as a concept?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, it exists. There's this thing people do.
I'm aware.
You may have read about it in the story.
I'm aware of this.
Right. They go places sometimes.
Okay, cool.
And Anais, let's start with you.
Okay.
Speed dating, which was invented by a Presbyterian priest from Los Angeles in 1999, is based on a tradition of chaperoned gatherings of young singles. True or false?
This is one of those tricky ones because it's mostly true, but maybe that Presbyterian part is the lie. I'm going to go with true.
False. It was invented by a rabbi.
God damn it. I knew you were going to throw off the religion. That's what I would do. All right. Okay.
Gerald, the most common time for breakups is around 3 to 5 months.
False.
It's true. And I mean, look, I haven't peer reviewed this data, but it's true based on this data I have, which is our answer key. And it fits with the story where they had been dating for 3 months. Anais, women who post a photo on internet dating sites receive 3 times as many email messages as women who don't.
Again, there's 3 times. Might be where you fudged the number to throw me off. They definitely receive more. But how much more? I'm going to go with true.
It is also false. It's 2 times.
You see? Oh, Andy, I'm on to you.
That's sneaky.
You're on to me, and yet you keep getting them wrong.
I know. Because I want to have faith that you wouldn't do something so cheap.
I'm very cheap. I told you. I had a busy morning. Gerald, on average, it takes between 20 and 25 dates before couples will trade house keys.
That's false.
That is false. It's 12 to 14 dates.
I was going to say.
And on average, after 3 weeks, couples go to Big Sur.
Mostly.
Wherever that is.
It's in California.
Okay.
Anais?
Yeah.
On free dating sites, at least 10% of new accounts are from bots. Not scammers, just scammers, not really bots. Bots aren't real in the real world.
Bots
True
are,
or
though.
false?
True.
Oh.
Yeah, true. 10%. 10% of new profiles on free dating sites.
Wow.
So that's 1 to 1, right? Or did Gerald get 2?
We're at 1 to 1. We're at 1 to 1.
Yeah,
No,
good.
1 to 1, yeah.
I should have been saying it out loud as I intended, but
Whatever.
this is our lives. Gerald.
Yeah.
92% of single parents would rather date other single parents.
92% of single parents would rather date other parents. I think that's false.
That is true.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Why did you think it was false? Too high?
Yeah, I didn't think that people would be that bothered, but I suppose, yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Anise?
Mm-hmm.
Researchers at the University of Chicago found that people were twice as likely to find a date through friends and family than through the bar scene.
True.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay.
Gerald, one more for the tie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm going to get you a better one, a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, the best one.
Hasn't Annie scored 2?
Yes, and you've scored
Oh,
1.
of course, and I scored 1. Oh, yeah, okay. Duh.
Right.
Maths was never my strong point.
Typically, dating specialists suggest waiting until the third date to cook someone dinner at home.
What is a made-up job?
I know.
I'm a dating specialist.
Relationship counselors. I third date. I would say it's longer than that.
Well, you would be wrong, Gerald.
No.
Yeah.
Is it the third date?
Can't argue with the specialist, Gerald.
Right.
Obviously.
Professional.
Yeah. Your
That's where it'll be
personal
going
and
on for
anecdotal
62
experience.
years. Yeah.
Well, because that's Third date is sex date, right? Everyone knows that. That's standard.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
You
then
tell us,
that's when you cook a dinner at home, because then you're not out at a restaurant.
Right.
You're the one that's been most recently dating, so you tell her. Oh no, Anise.
I am most recently dating. Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Anise, tell us.
Anise, yeah. What are we reading?
No. Yeah, what are we reading? Okay.
Change the subject.
Yes, we are reading Disaster Stamps of Pluto by Louise Erdrich. But before you go, let me scroll to the script. Here we go. But before you go, share your run-ins with blots in our Facebook group, the Literary Roadhouse Readers, or on Twitter at Lit Roadhouse, or our website, literaryroadhouse.com. Are you tired of Tinder and Bumble and all of those apps? Try looking for love in the review section of this podcast on iTunes. It helps others find us and maybe help you find love. Maybe. You can't say it won't. And we're going to start our own nudist spa. Support our sauna construction and podcast expenses by contributing at patreon.com/literary roadhouse. Every bit helps. And as always, share this podcast with the Big Sur enthusiasts in your life. Until next time, read a good story.